This is the gathering of members of the Old School Drinking Podcast. You might ask why you're doing a new podcast considering the millions that exist. Our goal is simple: to encourage people to gather in neighborhood bars and talk. Talk not only to people who agree with you, talk to people who think you're an idiot. Understand that the only way we will survive as a society is if we can get beyond our various camps and identities. This is why we're here, to save an institution that historically brought us together. Also, we like to drink. Okay, folks, this is the 12th gathering of the Old School Drinking Group. Today we're at the Oasis in Rogers Park. The co-hosts are John and Joe, and we hope to have our friend Gil here for the second section of big things to talk about. So what are we drinking tonight? Tonight is a surprise.
Because I'm going to pick up a friend at the train station later, Dr. Pepper Zero.
There you go.
But I'll be making up for it tomorrow.
Okay.
If not later tonight, it might take me a little while. And how about you? Are you drinking something new?
I'm drinking Ultra right now. For some reason, it doesn't affect me badly. Which is a bigger deal as you get older.
Well, we at least do have it in stock again.
There we go. Were we out?
We were running out, and I made sure that we ordered some for you.
As I heard, it actually is in the competition for the most drunk beer in the country right now, which I can't believe.
As opposed to the biggest drunk beer.
Well, and again, as I said that time too, everything is questionable when it comes to statistics in this case.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, why don't we jump into hyperlocal news?
Yeah, what do you got to start with?
Well, Glenwood between Morris and Lunt has become a little bit of a ghost town.
The dead man, or the dead zone?
It used to have the bar there and also Le Piano. The gentleman that ran Le Piano
I don't know what that
passed
is,
away.
I swear I don't know the name.
And
I don't know the name.
we're in a position that I
And
don't
I'm
know what's
thinking-
happening with Le Piano. They tore down the structure that
I'm
was
thinking
put up
this
by
guy
the
knew what he was
Glenwood
doing.
Bar as an outside space during the summer.
Right.
They just basically went,
So the whole thing's been knocked down.
yeah, brought a crew in and knocked that down.
Hmm.
But I went
So
by the
is
first time.
Le Piano closed now as well, or?
I think they were open this weekend for a tribute to
Okay.
the person that passed, to
Yeah.
Chad.
The manager.
Yeah, and I don't know what's going to follow.
Okay.
I walk by it almost every day and look to see if there's anything that they put on the door or anything like that.
Yeah.
I haven't seen anything for a while. So that's sort of bad news, because that was when both of those places were open. It was actually a interesting area.
Okay.
There were lots of people that went there. It was sort of a joyous place, and now it's sort of empty.
Sure.
The next thing on hyperlocal news you brought up. So why don't you talk
Oh yeah,
about that a
the
little bit?
old Leona's building's got a public notice of change of zoning. So everybody's got time to go and complain and say whether or not they want to let it go from commercial to mixed residential.
Yeah. And what's interesting to me, I'm not educated in the ways of Chicago, and the thing that surprises me is the alderperson has already, what I have heard, given her okay for that.
Well, they still have to go through the
I know, but
public notice process and everything.
But this is sort of a strange method, as far as I'm concerned. Wouldn't it make more sense to go through the input of people's views before you tell someone, go ahead and buy this and put a building up? It's sort of strange as far as I
Well, she's okayed it on her end. It's still got to get, passed through all the other layers of bureaucracy. We are no longer the everything goes through the alderman and that's it. There are other steps that have to be gone through. This is literally here's a week where everybody can go and object if you want to. And it's on one little placard on the window in a building nobody looks at because it's been vacant for like 10 years.
It's been vacant the whole time we've been here.
Yeah, well, I mean, and longer than you've been here. Like, I used to eat at that restaurant all the time. I used to love that place.
Why did they close?
Because the kids that took over from the parents when they passed away just fucked it all up. Just horribly.
That's awesome.
They grew too fast, and then they just fell apart. And I don't know if that was the original one, but it was definitely one of the oldest of the Leonas. And at one point in time,
there are other ones still operational.
There's like one left. There is one left, and it's not also all that good anymore.
Well, that's too bad. We can always use good restaurants.
It's more, family infighting. They couldn't get along. They couldn't decide, who was going to take the money.
It is one of the interesting things with restaurants when the families get bigger and everybody tries to figure out who's going to run it, how you divide everything up.
Yeah.
It almost always gets into these sorts of situations.
That's why I didn't have kids. I'm taking everything with me. They say they can't take you with you. It's like, well, the pharaohs said otherwise.
Well,
I'm going to be cremated with all my 3D printers.
Excuse me. In general local news, do you have any more hyper, by the way?
Not at the moment.
Okay. In general local news, tenants are getting a little more organized around here. As a matter of fact, they were asking the city to put forth a moratorium on evicting people as long as ICE was here. And what I see is it looks like the Border Patrol guy left. But I think most of the ICE people are still here.
Oh, yeah.
And
the high-profile people are gone. They're still pulling shenanigans.
Well, they're down in Charlotte.
Well, yeah, but there's still ICE and Border Patrol people here.
Yeah. Well, and they decommissioned the naval station as their base, so that was different.
Well, it's because they don't need the extra room anymore.
And it, as we had said, is sort of a strange thing to do from the standpoint of it is not really in Chicago. I think it was picked by people that didn't have a geography basis for doing that.
Well, also it was one of those situations where, hey, we've got this and we can technically just move in and be rent-free.
For sure.
Whereas, if we have to billet everybody in the city itself, it would have cost way more than the $20 million they wasted for, bringing some people in and just basically pissing off everybody in Chicago.
How could they possibly piss anyone off?
It's like that money could have been spent way better.
Along the same discussion, there was a story saying a judge is basically considering the release of about 600 plus, quote, illegal persons that have been rounded up. Considering another thing that we found out is about 96% of the people that they've rounded up had no criminal record.
Yeah, except for being here illegally in the first place, and a good portion of those people were technically not here illegally. They were still pending cases.
Were in cases that were pending.
They were doing things the right way.
I think this goes back to just the disingenuousness of the situation.
Oh, yeah.
Because the El Supremo that we have in place right now said over and over again, we're getting the worst of the worst, the criminals, the rapists, the murderers, and all that stuff.
Right.
And they ended up getting a bunch of tamale vendors and people that cut people's lawns.
Yeah, and they were also going after people working in factories and people working in agriculture and other places, and then all of a sudden they come back out and say, oh, we only meant the bad ones, the gang members.
So it's it's sort of like a Keystone Cops situation.
Except Keystone Cops were actually funny.
And they didn't harm as many people as we've ended up doing.
They only harmed themselves.
Because they have basically rounded up all sorts of people that shouldn't have been in that position. I mean, citizens. You know, there were actually citizens that they took, which is outrageous.
Mm-hmm.
And they were taken because of how they looked.
Yeah.
And
Racially profiled.
And tackled in streets
Mm-hmm.
by people that didn't know what they were
Handcuffed
doing.
and carted out of all sorts of places where it shouldn't
that
be
goes back
happening.
to the Keystone Cops thing.
Children being zip tied.
There were people that filmed a lot of the arrests that were literally a guy on a bicycle that got away from about 10 of them.
Mm-hmm.
A guy that got away because only 2 of them were there and they couldn't knock him down and handcuff him while everybody else was blowing whistles and yelling at them. It just has been a farce. And they're coming back and saying, we've cut crime by all these things. Crime was going down anyway. And to act like this is something that happened because you got a bunch of guys running around arresting brown people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they did technically reduce crime in certain areas temporarily, but it wasn't because they were actually there to fight crime. It was that everybody was out watching the streets, and everybody was paying attention, and everybody was blowing whistles anytime they saw something, whether it was ice or not. If something shady was going on, people were getting up and yelling about it. And a shout out to Protect Rogers Park and that entire organization for what they did here.
Well, and they did do a good job, and they were not very welcome here. Let's put it that way.
The ice wasn't, but the Protect Rogers Park people did a good job.
Yeah. So we shift to national news. There's a whole bunch of stuff that has gone on in the
2 weeks since last we were here.
One of the things that blew my mind in the 2008 Epstein case, where they put him sort of under house arrest, I think more than. He got out during the days so he could do business, whatever that means.
2008. Really rich people aren't really locked up.
Well, and he can get out and get his massages still.
Oh,
you know, you don't want him to be tense in jail.
Well,
it's just a crazy situation. But I had always thought, well, it's probably 2, maybe 3 or 4 people that were involved.
No.
It was 36 that were involved in the case. Now,
and those are the ones that were involved in the case.
well, yeah, and unfortunately there were probably more.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't understand how, as a prosecutor, you could be lenient in this instance. These are 14 to 17-year-olds. And then Megyn Kelly, the paragon kind of brain in the various networks that just pews out whatever Trump wants them to, says, well, a 15-year-old is a lot different than an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
And, guess what? Yeah, Megyn Kelly, but they're still both minors, and it's still against the law. All of
She's
this
also
is
the kind of
lost.
person to be like, but in Tennessee, the age of consent.
And the thing that blows me away is if this were a 19-year-old African American in Atlanta that was having sex with a 17-year-old that was his girlfriend, they would throw the book at him if they got into a statutory rape conviction. Even though that is, from my standpoint, a little crazy, it is still what happens. And yet you have a rich person that has 36.
A very rich, very well-connected person.
36 accusers in the case, not counting, the people that wouldn't come forward or were in a position that they couldn't contact them. And you give him a few months and basically say, but during the day you can go to your house and do your work. It was sort of a work release thing. And as far as I'm concerned, that shows that our legal system is completely wacky.
You mean our multi-tiered legal system that treats...
It treats poor people differently than rich people. Exactly.
Well, it treats poor people different than middle-class people, different than rich people, treats people differently based on their race. All the shit that they say that they don't do, they do.
Now, every once in a while we got to yell at Democrats, even though we're lefties. Which
Oh,
means,
no. We
which
always
means-
yell at Democrats.
Which means we do this 2 or 3 times every week. This whole thing with them voting to end the shutdown. 8 senators did this. It was a group of senators that were either retiring or had 4 more years, basically, before they had to run.
Yeah, they weren't up for re-election in the next term.
Now,
so.
this smells of old-time politics. We're going to pick the people that are going to be least affected by this, rather than people that have a real dog in this hunt and want to do
Basically the same thing both parties have been doing pretty consistently for my entire life. Yeah, okay.
I just, they were winning. They
were winning the argument.
And-
Were they winning? Like, okay, what was the best outcome that we could expect actually
The
happening?
best outcome we could suspect in this case is that they re-upped the ACA as far as the money that was going into it, and they did not get that.
Okay.
They got a promise that sometime in the future they would deal with this,
Sure.
or something bizarre.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say anything, but I've got like a bridge to sell to these 8 senators. Because that is the craziest thing I've ever heard. You do not give up a strong position where you're fighting something that matters for some ether in the future. I mean, that is the craziest thing I've ever heard. Other than other things that have happened, for instance, the 28-point plan that they're giving Zelensky that
Oh,
sounds
jeez.
like exactly what the Russians wanted to begin with.
Actually, the only thing I can say about the Democratic failure in the shutdown is, where was the outrage for the rescission? Where was the outrage for all the bullshit that the Republican administrations pulled unilaterally over the last 9-10 months, and using that as an explanation, because we've already shown that these guys are not trustworthy and will not maintain old agreements. Anything you agree to, they're going to just turn around and pull a rescission on anyway. I mean, they killed PBS, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
Like,
And
what the
and
hell?
The thing with that is they will not kill PBS in Chicago.
Well,
PBS is going to
okay,
die.
but the National
in-
Broadcasting Corporation is now officially dead.
I
They're
understand,
the
but
public broadcast where,
the
like,
PBS
it's
station
gone.
in Chicago will
All of our
survive.
public radio stations and TV stations will mostly survive. But the point is,
Yeah.
okay, I guess the point I'm trying to make is, we have a house that's on fire. We've got 2 guys arguing over, who's gonna put it out. But one of the guys is the one that lit it on fire in the first place.
You're telling me that arsonists would rather just watch the fire?
They want it to burn.
Well, what I was going
They've
to
been
say,
trying to burn it for years.
what I was going to say was,
They
what
were
this
getting
will
away
hurt-
with burning more while the shutdown was going on.
This will hurt more. There are large swaths of this country
Oh yeah.
that have no local news.
Oh, yeah.
And
Absolutely. And
PBS
that's
was one
also
of the few
something that
things
they
that was-
really want.
It is a massively stupid.
But again, for waffling on the shutdown, the Republicans are happy to burn it all down. They want to burn it all down. They don't fucking care.
Well, I'm
Their
not
idea
re- I'm not
is
really
just
happy
eliminate
with it.
everything that they possibly can, and they've been doing that.
Well-
I give the Democrats credit for actually growing a little bit of intestinal fortitude and trying for a little while. Also, are we surprised that this is the outcome? Really?
Oh no, I'm relatively surprised that they
Quite
this
honestly,
lasted this long.
I hate to say it, but enough people let this country get to the point it is right now. We deserve the pain. We deserve the overpriced everything. We deserve to realize that when you vote for assholes and they fuck you, It's your own damn fault.
Well,
the ACA was a handout to the fucking insurance companies anyway. Was it a way to try and like do a middle of the road thing so we can still be capitalist and we can still actually have reasonable prices for everybody?
Yeah.
Which actually kind of sounds like socialism. Like, screw that, man. Single payer time. It's time for everybody to have the same doctor and the same nurse, and there's only going to be 2 of them, and we all have to stand in line, including the rich people. Then we'll really feel some pain.
Well, even rich people will find the pain when all the hospitals close, which is part of what's
Well, no,
going
they
to
have their
happen.
own doctors that'll do house calls still. They'll find the pain when the villagers
See-
actually remember how to use torches and pitchforks.
Rocky and I, my wife, were talking about this, and we watched a semi-documentary on what's happening to farmers and what's really happened to farmers. Everyone's stuck on tariffs. Tariffs are not the problem. The problem are monopolies on both ends of their spectrum.
Oh, absolutely.
There is a monopoly in the people that provide their seeds and their fertilizer, and there's a monopoly of people that buy their product.
We should do this as another show, and we can bring on one of my relatives who is actually a functioning farmer in Indiana.
But the point I was, if the Democrats grew a pair, which is likely not to happen, and went to the farm states right now and said, the only thing we're going to do for you is to break up the monopoly of people that provide your inputs, the fertilizer,
And set the prices.
seeds, and the people that buy it from you. We will break up those monopolies. They would win every state in the Farm Belt. And they won't do it. They will not do it. And this is not a problem. This is not a problem for just farms. People that buy food are in that situation.
Oh yeah. Also, I think you're overestimating the intelligence of the people of this country.
Well, there
Because
is.
even if you explain it to them, I think they're still going to go, I don't want boys and girls sports, and that's all they care about. Because if they actually thought that it
the
had
people-
anything to do with anything
You're
else.
never going to convince those people. You are correct.
And those are still the vast majority of the people right now because
We'll see. Because I'm still.
the brainwashing's been going on for a long time.
I'm still hopeful.
I've spent a lot more time in that area with those people, and I'm going to be back there on
Tomorrow.
Wednesday. I'm going to be here drunk tomorrow because I'm going to be down there on Wednesday, and I need to get my,
What
my
John is
brainwashed
talking
ahead of
about
time.
is he grew up in southern Illinois.
Rural.
Which is America is a strange place. Let's put it that way. Everybody
Just in case you don't know.
everybody thinks of Illinois, well, it's Chicago. Well, actually, it is a number of places. There are places around Chicago that are very much touristy sorts of things that basically make a lot of money in tourism, especially in Wisconsin, for example. But south of here,
There's
it
touristy
becomes-
spots everywhere.
Yeah, south of here, it is definitely the Farm Belt. And
Well, there's some nice spots that are touristy. There's, not easy to get to unless you're driving.
okay, the final
Anyway.
thing I wanted to talk about, and this is
Also, screw Chuck Schumer. Retire already.
this is something I'm throwing into your wheelhouse,
Okay.
and that is a guy named Yan LeCun, who
Oh, yeah.
worked for Meta, who is the person who is in charge of the AI group of Meta, has basically said that large language models will not work to go to the singularity, because they're, from my standpoint, they appear to be mostly souped up search engines. What he says is that you need a world model, which the system learns like a child would learn, rather than that. Now,
Well,
This
yeah,
is-
and this goes
this
back
is not-
to
Go
some
ahead.
old school, what's going to actually be functioning AI over the last, 30 some years of people experimenting. The old idea that if you just have a neural net and you can scale it big enough to be the size and complexity of a human brain, that in and of itself would somehow or another spawn a consciousness. But we've been able to simulate larger brains than what we've got, and it never got to that point.
Yeah.
And large language models give us a chance to do things that have the appearance of intelligence, but we're not entirely sure, what level of intelligence is. I think, if you ask me, LLMs are slightly smarter than minnows. Not as smart as a parrot, but it's like if you we could train worms to do the exact same thing an LLM is doing, just on a much slower pace.
But see, large language models and what's going on with AI right now are what's driving our economy.
Which is also funny because you got, OpenAI invests a bunch of money into, NVIDIA invests $100 billion to OpenAI, and then OpenAI buys $100 billion of chips from NVIDIA, and they both put down
a circular thing going on here.
we have $100 billion of something, and it starts going like this.
You said you would have some bar stories for it.
For, I believe I put it in the drawer where the checkbook normally goes.
Okay. He was supposed to do a bar story.
Well, one thing at a time. Anyway. Long story short, I think he's right, but I don't know the extent of his argument.
Well, that's because I only summed it up in one sentence. Now you're basically complaining about me.
No, I'm saying I don't know the intricacies of everything that he's got going on because I haven't read his research.
Yeah. Well, and
also anybody who works for Meta, I immediately distrust. But since he's
why is that?
Because I don't like Mark Zuckerberg.
And why
it's entirely
is that?
Prejudice.
John used to work for someone.
No, I worked for Microsoft, not for Meta.
Well, they're one and the same, aren't they?
Microsoft? Meta? No.
Oh, I did not know that.
Meta's Facebook.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
This is how ignorant I am.
Also, Meta's got the least good performing LLMs out there. All right, give me a second. I got to go take care of something real quick.
Okay, we're going to pause here. Our main discussion today, first of all, our friend Gil did not make it. Probably caught in a philosophical conversation someplace more interesting than ours. But what we were going to talk about is capitalism. And how I tended to look at this is most capitalists use Adam Smith as the paragon of the person that figured this out in Wealth of Nations. The interesting thing is he didn't think Wealth of Nations was his most important work. He thought a book, it's not a book, it's actually a pamphlet called Moral Sentiments was his best work. And what it detailed was the fact that people should be good people in what they do and how they deal with other people and their morals as far as that's concerned. Now, we have morphed into a situation over the years where a person theoretically can be a capitalist and a good person, which in this case is in some cases a Christian. And where I'm going to start this is, can you be a good person, be a capitalist, and be a Christian as a sort of multi-tiered question? Now, I'm throwing a hand grenade out on this one, so.
I mean, of course you can. As long as you change what being a good person and being a Christian are to not be what you would commonsensically think that they would be.
Well,
2 + 2 = 5. Newspeak. Come on.
Well, I'd like to know more about how Adam Smith arrived at his, because he grew up in a very Christian world.
Which is the reason Moral Sentiments was considered, he considered that his best work, because basically created a framework for how a person should be morally.
So how did he square that circle or circle that square?
He squared it because he thought that there was no contradiction between being a Christian and a Catholic. Now, I think
Okay.
because of the way our society views things, that's been warped. That's
I would
sort of
agree
where
with
I'm
that.
going there.
Okay.
And you know, the prototypical capitalist, I think now, is one that spends 6 days a week that's a Christian, spends 6 days a week screwing as many people as they can, going to church and asking for forgiveness, and then doing it over again.
I don't think they're asking for forgiveness for screwing the people over, though.
Sure
What?
they are.
No, they're asking forgiveness for going on to Grindr.
Rockie doesn't even know what Grindr is.
Well, I think I can put it together though. Yeah.
It's the stuff all the Republican guys get on when they go to a new city.
Well, since they've gotten
What
into
all
a
the Border
position-
Patrol guys were doing because they're away from their wives and they figured, oh, I can go, get my
Do
gay
my
sex
thing.
in.
Well, it certainly is better as a methodology than using the wide stance tap, that's for sure. Which was the senator from Idaho's argument for getting caught in the Minneapolis bathroom.
Well, before we get too carried away with making fun of, homophobes getting caught.
Do you want me to?
How did he get through that? And
How did he square it?
at what point in time in history did we get to you are a good person when you're ripping off people?
I think I'm going to go way into my problem with Christianity here to answer that question. Christianity, as far as I'm concerned, has been modified from what it was, which was a very poor person that walked around with people and talked to them about how their lives should be led and how to be a good person, and turned into a methodology of convincing people that there is something better if you put up with how shitty things are here. Meaning, yeah, things might be crappy, but if I go through this methodology, there is a reward at the end of this. And it in effect it became a method of people to move from the divine right of kings, where you said a king was put in place by God, to God watches you and he understands that if you are in pain, if your infant dies of dysentery because you don't have good well water that all the Christians in the world could actually fix by drilling wells in Africa. You sort of see where I'm going here. It becomes a justification for suffering. And my feeling is we don't have to live in a world with suffering. We don't have to live in a world where we have people in, 200 feet from here in the winter living in a tent.
Well, what's the point of having a yacht that has a smaller yacht sitting inside of it if you can't look into the eyes of all the absolutely destitute sitting on the shoreline, making you feel superior?
Well, there's a little bit of that, but you're way behind on that. They don't have a small yacht in a big yacht. They've got a massive yacht and a big yacht falling behind with all their toys, because they don't have enough room for their stuff on the first one.
Well, most of them don't know how much stuff they've got. But
Well, and-
but anyway, the point being,
Yeah.
the cruelty is
Make it so that I'm afraid I'm
a feature, not a bug.
Make them that good.
You also skipped over a large chunk of, starting out with a
I
guy
swear to God, I almost
walking
fucking-
around, talking, be nice to each other, to divine right of kings.
You don't understand how
And
this works.
an equally large jump to today's wealth gospel that most evangelicals have gotten sucked
But I
into.
love big jumps.
Apparently.
What?
Big jumps.
Big jumps. I thought you said something.
Not anymore, now that we
You were-
sent the message out.
Knowing me, you were thinking of something completely.
Yeah, I was doing that the whole time.
I don't know. The,
No, I'm interested in what you two think. If I made too big a jump,
I'm just amused that Gigi insists on coming over this way and talking. And she, I think, really wants to be on the show.
Well, that's okay.
We
Bring her
should
over.
invite her on sometime.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
okay. First of all, with the question about Jesus, if you look at the Sermon on the Mount, he was talking about love your neighbor as yourself. Provide succor for the poor. Everything he said is so completely different from capitalism as it exists today. And that may be inevitable. That was 2,000 years ago, and the world has changed. But I had some pretty seriously bad experiences in the evangelical churches that my mother was a patron of. And Christianity is completely irrelevant to what the churches have become, as far as I can tell.
The interesting thing is, there are so many divisions within Christianity. We talked a little bit about this when people say we want to be a Christian nation, and which Christian?
Yeah, really.
Because
What
I
the
grew
hell
up,
does that mean?
Rocky grew up because of her family in more a fundamentalist
Yeah.
environment. I grew up in what the fundamentalists would call a mainline Presbyterian Episcopalian sort of thing.
Or Catholic, worse yet.
Well, see that.
Yeah, the
goes
papists
beyond.
are all devil worshippers.
Papists.
So,
I didn't know the difference between papist and I didn't know that papist was a way of saying something about Catholics
I think that's
until I
somewhat-
was a teenager. But I was raised hearing that word used in a slur connotation by the
here
people
I
over
thought it
50
was-
in my house, in my grandparents' house.
And
when
here I
was like
thought,
5.
here I thought it was the name of someone that worked in a paper mill. Okay.
I thought they kept saying Pabstist.
Oh, worked in a brewery.
First of all, they don't drink at my grandma's house, but my grandpa's house, it's all hams.
And I love
There you
this
go.
stupid argument that's emerged between people who advocate for science and people who advocate for religion. That's just one of the dumbest debates that is out there.
Well, what I was going to say too about being mainline versus fundamentalist, in both cases, the Episcopal Church, for example, has a very strict thing that they do. Every week of the year, all 55 days, 55 Sundays, there are very specific services that they run, meaning the gospel that they read, the sermon that they use are framed for that week. So if you're in a position that you're in that church, you hear the same things over and over again. And what I found, considering at one stage I was thinking in terms of becoming an Episcopalian monk, which is strange anyway.
Yeah.
But what I found was it is almost meditative. You're in a position, you do the same things all the time. You get up and down at the same time. You kneel at the same time. It is very meditative. The fundamentalist side of the equation is much more emotional, but still does a lot of the same things. Picks and chooses from the Bible what they're going to do, and the Bible is an interesting book from a literature standpoint. It is not so good as a methodology of living your life, because there are so many portions of it that are evil, from slavery to genocide to everything. You can pick what you want to be and still be a Christian as far as I'm concerned, and that's part of the problem. If you pick and choose, you can justify almost anything. I mean, I'm sure the Nazis could think and justify everything they did from the standpoint of picking and choosing from the
I
Bible.
believe they did, actually.
They did.
I believe also the Pope helped.
Yes, he did.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, that's one of the other things. Hitler was a Roman Catholic and was never excommunicated, and mostly because he was getting along really well with the Vatican. The Vatican liked him because he hated the Jews. And people don't want to deal with the fact that for a huge amount of time in our history, the Roman Catholic Church had, I don't want to say it in that way, had a hard-on about the Jewish people and would actually say things like, "You were the people that killed Jesus."
Oh, there's still groups that are saying that on a regular
I know,
basis.
but how you can have a religion that aligns itself with capitalism is where I'm sort of going here. How you can take what the person was saying literally when he was here about having too much money, about being in a position you don't take care of the poor and people that have problems. How you can take that person and somehow put him in a position that he can be all right with Elon Musk is sort of strange. We've talked about the twisting that takes place in political parties. The fact that you can look at what people believe as far as individual freedom or whatever, and it shifts depending on the circumstance. The Republicans wanting huge amounts of financial freedom, but don't want necessarily freedom in your bedroom. And the Democrats wanting freedom in your bedroom.
They want their financial freedom and they want their freedoms, but they don't necessarily want everybody else to have all the freedoms.
Well, what you're saying there is that there's a certain amount of totalitarian vision in that view.
You're right.
So I guess my question is, our not exactly homogenous collective sense of morality change over time because of capitalism, or is capitalism
The result of our morality.
breaking down?
I think what's happened is religion has been used as a shield for the inequity of capitalism. Suffer here, it's not a big deal, you're going to be rewarded in the future. Instead of, I'm suffering here, I'm not going to have a future.
Well, first of
necessarily.
all, it was always supposed to be the next life anyway.
Exactly.
You're going to get your eternal reward in heaven.
But what happens?
Or if you believe in karma, you'll get,
But the
rewarded in the next time.
But the problem is this: what if that's a lie?
Of course, it's a lie.
Now, don't say that.
I think it's speculation. I think people are trying. I think it's not philosophy. It's speculation about what's our purpose here. What happens to us when we die? You die. You become part of the earth.
Exactly.
And
And there may be. I'm not in a position I can prove anything about religion. I cannot prove that there's a God. I can't prove that there's a God. I can't disprove there's a God. But my view is a little different than what Christianity is. I believe I'm responsible for everything I've done. And I look back at my life now, as old as I am, and look back at the stupid shit I did, but I don't believe that if I go to a religious person waving a bunch of incense around, that I can be absolved of that responsibility. I am responsible for what I did. And if I go to a judgment and the person said something along the lines of, all you had to do was worship God and ask for forgiveness. I don't want to be among those sorts of people. I believe in responsibility and trying to do the right thing. Now we're hitting a long pause here. I don't want to keep going. You guys can say something too.
Well, the problem is we were expecting, Gil was going to be here to, keep up with you and make an argument with you that, may or may not be what he believes, but he's got the big guns he can pull out. And me, I just, I'm 50 years old and cynical as fuck.
Well, but that's a good thing.
I was handed a certain set of what I was told were social mores, and I decided at a slightly too young an age, while doing lots and lots of drugs, that most of this was dumb. And then I tried to pull a Descartes and make up my own mind about things, and realized I'm dumb.
No, I don't think you are.
Well, I appreciate that, but
Well, I don't know that I'm going to argue about that.
Thank you. Just trust me.
No, I trust people that believe that they're not exactly the most brilliant people in the world.
I was unable to formulate an entire new, series of a priori arguments to explain my morality and my
Well,
sense
the
of
fact
morality.
that you know what a priori is sort of tells me you're not exactly as dumb as you're trying to put
Just
yourself
because I
out to
read a
be.
bunch of stuff doesn't mean I'm actually smart. That's the thing. I'm like a large language model. I've put a lot of stuff into it. Doesn't mean I'm actually going to spit out anything brilliant.
Notice how we always move around to
Back
talk about the
around.
things that
We're
we
doing
really
Trump's weave. Yeah.
I don't know. I've been thinking about this in a different way.
Okay.
I've been thinking about all of the animals on the earth and the intelligence levels of those animals, because they're not all just running on instinct and appetite. And
Well, most animals are insects. We don't know.
we have no idea. I
But-
mean, a lot of our successes is because of this, the old opposable thumb.
Well, we can talk about that from an anthropological standpoint at some point. 'Cause I don't
Also,
think
our
the
ability to
opposable
sweat.
thumb- I don't think our thumb has anything to do with it. But that's another.
Oh no, the thumbs are definitely useful.
It's useful, but it's not the reason.
Because no other animal can do finger guns the way that we can.
Well, actually, chimps can.
Not the way we.
Oh, okay. They wouldn't see what it was.
They don't. Not as good at that.
But if you look into the oceans and you recognize the intelligence that's just floating around out there, it's a little bit humbling.
It is, here we go. We were talking a little bit about this earlier, and the thing that interests me is how human beings, what they think about themselves, and how we are the paragon of being. And I go back to the infamous To Serve Man episode of Twilight.
Love them.
And the fact that we could very easily be to an alien race very much like cattle are to us.
Or ants.
Yeah, exactly. If we're looking about how smart you are, how much technology you have, and everything else, we are just at risk as anyone, as anything. And that goes back to what you're talking about. Is we have learned a lot about technology and everything else, but if you look at especially dolphins and whales and things like that have much bigger brains than we have and communicate with one another, and
Don't
are all
count
sorts of-
out the octopuses.
Yeah.
Those things are
The problem-
scary.
The
They're
problem with
scary.
octopuses are they don't live very long.
They're aliens. I swear. They're not from this planet.
Yeah. They don't live long enough.
That's what they think about us.
And if you
Anyway.
put all this together, this mess that we think we're above everything, Because again, the Bible says we got this place. We have dominion over it.
I was about to say I do not like dominionists because they think that, oh hey, it's my world, I can do whatever the hell I want. It doesn't
Well,
matter.
but that's part of the way people push aside the climate problem. Is they say, well, we don't have a problem. God told us we have dominion.
It's not even just the climate, it's, dumping crap wherever they want, thinking, oh, it's fine, because it's mine.
So I guess where we started this and where I was trying to go is how over time, because the other thing that you can talk about, going back a little bit so John won't yell at me for making huge jumps, the original Christians were communal. They lived communally, completely different than what we're talking about
They
now.
also weren't patriarchal either.
Well, I don't know about that, but I'll take your word for it.
The very early ones weren't.
So, as Rocky and I have been in a position that we were being served. Thank you.
Sure, I'll take that empty, thank you.
There you go.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right.
I went completely off whack there. So. Where was I?
Table service. The ins and outs of table service and why it's the thing that's going to save
Okay, so-
capitalism and morality.
The twisting of
Yeah.
capitalism and Christianity
Oh, yeah.
is
that's my
becoming
favorite.
two things that are intertwined. Our forefathers, the stinking pilgrims, were extreme capitalists.
Also, not everybody that started this country was a pilgrim. There was one, small group.
To say that the pilgrims didn't have an oversized effect.
Did a whole bunch
now we
of
are-
the prudes leave Europe and end here and turn this country into the most sexually repressed place outside of the Middle East?
I think you could argue that we're neck and neck with that as far as the pilgrims were concerned.
Well, that's why. It's the pilgrims that kept us from getting fucked the way we want.
But see, the interesting
But
thing
I'm
is
just saying,
that
yeah, the pilgrims
portion,
are here. They
that
weren't
portion
the,
of our country.
the pilgrims weren't the one that founded the country.
I know.
The pilgrims just populated the
But
place
the
and set up a lot of the
Pilgrims-
norms.
The pilgrims had massive effects, especially on higher education,
Yep,
where
I'll give you that.
Harvard and those guys came
I'll give you that.
into line, and Bernard or Baynard or whatever the hell that is. That-
Benjamin Franklin was not a pilgrim.
no,
That's all I'm gonna say.
no, but that's true of everything. Everything changes over time.
The founding fathers were not pilgrims.
Most of them were theists and not attached to pilgrims.
Exactly.
So I don't disagree with that.
Just pointing that
I
out.
mean, considering
Before my mother reads this or hears this, and
one of the things that,
as a Christian nation.
well, I find it interesting that one of the things that Thomas Jefferson did as a project is to rewrite the New Testament. Just using what
and I have
Jesus
not
said.
actually read his New Testament, so it's one of the versions I have not read.
So, and if you were to look at when we began and where we are now, the use of people, meaning everybody but people that were in charge, how they justified everything in a lot of ways revolved around, yeah, it's really bad now, but if you work hard, there's a possibility that you can become wealthy too. And more than that, as long as you abide by this and don't cause too much waste, you have the result of going to a really nice place where you're going to live forever and
Yeah,
it will be
because
perfect.
from that particular stance of morality, if you're a good person, you do what you're told, and you
Can't think
maintain
of
your
a
place in society.
better way to suppress people and everything that's
Well,
Working
and that's
great
the-
since the beginning of recorded history.
And That's something that's consistent in history. If you look at feudalism, the justification was the king's there and he's the one that's not covered in shit and God put him there, so that must be the way things are. To now,
The ancient Egyptians, it's like, I am God.
exactly. And we get to a point now that we don't believe that, well, I'm going to take that back. I was going to say we don't believe that Donald Trump is God.
Well, there are a few people that might.
But
I would involuntarily commit them, but
so
My favorite verse from the Bible is, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen.
and it's true as far as I'm concerned. I mean, that's in college, one of the first things we read when I was a freshman was Kierkegaard's stuff, where he basically said the basis of faith is faith.
Right.
And you look at that and think, we spent a week on Kierkegaard, which was way too much time, reading his stuff and no one understanding at all what he was
I'd say
talking
that's
about.
not nearly enough time. But
And I can remember to this day the professor with his pipe in the classroom and his tweed jacket with the sticking arm pads on it, turning to us and saying, "Well, what does everyone think of this?" And we're in a position that we've spent a week on this being tortured, coming in not knowing how we're gonna say anything. And this was in like a class of 8 people. It was not in a class of 100 people. And finally, on the last day of the class, the professor turned to us and said, "Well, what's the point of all this?" Every person in the classroom immediately looked at their feet and said, "Please, if there is a God, don't let him don't let him ask me anything on this." And as the time expired, he said, "Well, Kierkegaard believes the basis of faith is faith."
Yeah, exactly.
And he's correct, but why would you torture us for a week to get to that point? Could we have like a Cliff Notes version?
well, that would take away the experience.
The pain and,
Yeah.
and the fear.
Like I said, the cruelty is a feature, not a bug. Works in academia as well.
So again, I mean, I just am in a position that I have some fundamental issues with almost all religions, but especially with the Christian religion, because it espouses things it never lives up to.
Most organized religions seem to do that.
Yeah, well,
But, again, cynical and an atheist, so.
I think we're probably all three atheists to be blessed.
I mean, I'm actually one step further. I'm actually pretty sure I'm a non-player character.
You're a what?
A non-player character.
In
That-
what?
That he's living in a matrix of some sort.
Oh,
I'm not actually a person. I'm
There
just
you
a
go.
program that's here to facilitate everybody else's gameplay.
And from if we're going to get more philosophical, I think that could be one thing you say about everything. Are we really here?
Well,
I mean, I've always had these strange questions about exactly what is sight and what is smell and taste and those sorts of things.
Yeah,
those are 5 senses.
I've
I know.
gotten high too. Yeah, I know what you mean.
No, is this real? Are we in a position where perceiving our world properly at all?
I would say no, but we can't do anything about it, so we have to deal with it like it is.
And you have to make up a framework.
It's real to me,
You have to make up a
and I'm real
framework
to it.
to make sure that people don't slaughter one another, which we have done in the
Which,
past.
for some reason or other, that can't just be, the baseline of don't do these things, because it's a good idea not to.
That I would say would be religion's biggest failure.
Well,
Because
I mean,
we've been slaughtering one another over religion.
it's like the
forever.
Well, okay, how do you justify warfare as a Christian?
oh, it's very simple. The commandment originally was
Murder.
do not murder.
Right.
Doesn't mean don't kill. It means murder. And it was also speaking specifically of do not murder other Israelites.
Exactly, but
Because they're,
what I would
they're
throw,
real people.
They're real people.
And
Everybody
the
else
rest of
isn't.
them are.
okay,
Okay.
I understand where you're going with this, but let me ask this question. The
Yeah.
original Christians went into the Colosseum and allowed themselves to be slaughtered so they would not fight.
Sure.
Now, that's, I think, closer to
They were also thoroughly convinced that,
the world was going to end,
martyring themselves, they'll go straight to heaven and everything will be fine.
which is amusingly similar to how Islam looks at things.
Yeah. I mean, they are basically from the same stock.
Well, and that's the biggest condemnation of most of the religions that I know was done by Christopher Hitchens when he said, God, if there was one, for however long mankind existed, 100 to 250,000 years, spends its time doing something but not really paying too much attention on what's going on in the world. People slaughter one another, kids die of various diseases and everything else when they didn't have a chance to live.
Children starve to death.
It's basically chaos. And then 2,000 years ago, he says, "Oh, okay, enough of that," and says, "We're gonna deal with this by sending Muhammad or my son Jesus into the Middle East, the most weird place you could send someone like that. Meaning, why wouldn't you send them to China, which had a massively advanced civilization in comparison to the Middle East, or India, or almost any place,
Well,
or the Mayans?
They
to the
already
Mayans.
had their own fun religions.
Well, yeah, but what
yeah.
I'm saying is, if you were picking something to do, why would you wait to provide this information for all that time while everybody was basically dying and slaughtering one another and not understanding
Are
what's
you
going
asking from God's standpoint, or are you asking
Yes.
from? Well, okay, I don't know because
on? And we can
that
say,
doesn't make any sense to begin with.
and we can say God works in mysterious ways.
And that's assuming that there is just a God, and it's the same God
Well,
for the three major
Religions.
Well, there are more than
Abrahamic
three.
religions, and all of the Eastern religions have their own backgrounds.
Well, and let me kick this out,
It,
since we're
it
talking
does
a little
amuse
bit
me
about
that
religion.
I think we're obsessed with it because we are in a place in the world that was taken over by those religions. If we were doing this having been raised in China,
We would be
we would
something
be
else.
talking about how is Confucianism versus
Exactly.
But see, this is
Yeah.
the evidence of people struggling with trying to figure out the answers to the really big questions.
why are we all assholes?
Why are we here? What is the purpose of this?
See, okay, those are big questions, but I also think that
Why are we assholes? Is a big question.
that's like the biggest one that we can actually answer.
But see, one of the interesting things for me is
The other ones, like, we're never going to be able to figure that out because either it's up to us to decide what that is, because we didn't get an instruction manual with life, or there isn't one, and,
well, I think that's what religions do, is give you an instruction manual. One of the things I was going to say, if I were to pick religion, the one that makes the most sense to me is the Greek religion, the ancient Greek. You have a group of gods that all have the same tendencies as human beings: jealousy, anger,
Well, that's exactly
lust,
what they were.
like
the
everything else.
personifications of pain.
Exactly, and
Sure.
that makes more sense as far as how the world has turned out than a benevolent God or gods or whatever else. this person has created a world where 99% of the things that have existed are extinct. Okay? And if you're a perfect being, how do you screw that up so bad? How do you create?
Okay, again, are you asking like from a religious standpoint, or are you like asking from the standpoint of a person who believes religion? I'm trying to tie us back into the original point of the conversation.
What was the original point? I interrupted you.
Capitalism and religion. We've gone more.
Are we
into
going into like what is God actually thinking, and why would God make this religion this way? Or because I don't believe that that's how it worked. I believe that religion evolved over time based off of a couple people saying a couple things, and then another group of people hijacking whatever movement they had and turning it into the totalitarian control system that we
total
have.
sense to me. That makes total sense.
Because when you say, what would God be thinking that would allow this to happen, it's like, I don't think there is a God thinking that.
But that goes back to my
You're
belief
saying how
in the Greek
people-
gods. And the Greek gods were assholes.
Okay.
You know, this is an asshole life.
Well,
Okay.
yeah. No, I'm up with you there. I'm just.
So that is a better way of defining us, or in some ways even the Norse gods too. And there's some stuff
Okay.
there. But what we've developed is some sort of psychotic thing that we don't have to be good people because religion will forgive us for not being good people, and therefore almost anything is possible. Meaning, if I can, let me pick the worst thing you could do as a capitalist. You build a waste treatment plant that not only doesn't work, but poisons the water table of an area that 500,000 people live in. And 40 years later, they're going to find out that the reason their kids died of cancer and all sorts of mutations that took place, it was because you saved a couple bucks on building this thing. Okay?
Well, now you're getting into capitalism.
Well, that's sort of what we started with. But that person can be a good Christian. That person can go in and say, you know, I screwed up, please forgive me, and you're
Sins
okay.
are washed away.
And you're okay. You know, my classic example is Adolf Hitler. Adolf Hitler was a Catholic in good standing. All he had to do was tell one of his minions, in a half an hour, I want you to come in here and shoot me in the head. And then go to a priest and say, I want to be forgiven for my sins. And he's golden. Killed millions of people, was probably, besides probably Mao and Genghis Khan, one of the worst people that we've had in the world. And he's golden. Whereas Mahatma Gandhi, who was a human being and had foibles and everything else, but was trying to do the right thing, doesn't have a chance because he got the wrong
Well,
religion.
according to Christianity, yes.
And this does not make any sense to me at all. That a good person that does the right thing is excluded because he didn't pick the right religion. That God, who is all powerful and made everything and can know what everybody's thinking before they did it, allowed the mess we're in at times, or even right now.
That's one of the many reasons why I'm an atheist.
Well, I am more because I see no basis for this other than hope, other than faith, and a faith that creates an environment that you can be taken advantage of by people more powerful than you.
Well, you also have to be introduced to the concept to begin with by somebody that you trust, and then it's, you know, most of the time much easier to just say, this is what I believe, and I don't have to think about it, and I can move on with my life. As opposed to having to worry about, what is the purpose of my life? What is the meaning of my life? Oh my God, I have to think for myself instead of just taking what I was handed.
again, most of the religions are meditative, as far as, except for the ones where they want to basically have rock bands playing. But you know, my view was created in a religion where the biggest thing that happened on Sunday was we would try and go to the earliest service because there was no sermon, and we made our ways to Winchell's Donuts as quickly as possible. So, you know, as a child, it was a little different circumstance.
Oh, sure.
than an adult.
I was thinking about the Greek myth about, I can't remember now all of it because I've been drinking, but the Greek myth about opening a box.
Pandora.
No, and the thing that escaped the box was hope.
Well,
I
I don't know that one. I know Pandora's box, all the evil escapes, and the only thing that's left is hope.
Yeah, but there's one about
It's the
hope
opposite.
that hope escaped the box. And yeah, I wish I could remember it, but then I've been drinking quite a bit. I should look that up because it's one of my favorites.
I don't know hope escaping the box. I know hope is the only thing left in the box from Pandora. But
Right.
it's the one thing that's still there that we can still get to.
Yeah.
So,
Maybe that's how.
Probably. I can bring my Bullfinch's mythology next week and we can find out.
Let's not talk about
still
religion
have it.
anymore. But yeah.
Oh, mythology is easier. Because we've already just
Mythology is
said this is
fun.
mythology. I really like talking about the Abrahamic religions as mythology because it's way less annoying.
well, and there are people that look at it as literature too.
Well,
Okay,
the Bible has literature in it. Some of it's very beautiful.
Some,
Some
but a
of
small
it's-
percentage.
Well, some very important things.
We have hit the limit.
This is probably good because I think we're starting to circle around and say the same
You
thing.
definitely have been. It's okay.
Oh, now I'm getting criticism. I've been.
I'm
beaten up.
sorry.
I love you, Joe.
I'm not drinking right now. This isn't so much fun for me because I'm sober.
Oh, and that's part of the problem. 'Cause
Exactly.
He has to
I've
do
got
something.
errands I have to run as soon as I'm done.
Now, I was going to bring up,
But
I
I'll
was
make
gonna
up
bring-
for it next week. I
I
guarantee.
was going to bring up the patron saint of the libertarians a little bit to throw some shit.
Who's
in.
that?
Hayek,
Oh yeah.
and the fact that you know his big bailiwick was the difference. The problem is central planning versus individual freedom/competition,
Yeah.
and the fact that because you can't be perfect in planning, you should never really worry about that. You just let everybody
Yeah. This is
whack
another reason
away at
why
it.
most libertarians have the overall mentality of a 13-year-old
Be
boy.
careful. I was a libertarian for a while.
Yeah. I was a
And I grew
13-year-old
out of
boy
it.
until I was like 48. Most of us grow out of it eventually.
It is true. I grew out of it because they.
Also, I really enjoyed reading Robert Heinlein. I don't think we should actually build our worlds the way that he's got his.
I'm not sure that that's the case. Although Starship Troopers would be a pretty awful world.
I think it would actually be a slightly more fair world than one we're in.
Well, we'll talk about this
Is it
sometime
where I
in the
want to
future.
be? No.
We'll talk about it sometime in the future.
Sounds good.
Thank you to everybody. Thank you to my fair
Thanks for
wife,
joining
Rockie,
in.
who puts up with me all the time and listens to my crap all the time whenever I talk. Rocky does not believe this, but after the first 3 or 4 times I did this, I had sore throat because I usually don't talk this much. And she will tell you, no, you're a chatterbox. So, anyway, and thank you to John.
Think of this as an outlet that,
You drop
releases some.
you just drop a quarter in the slot and see what comes out.
I was wondering where all my quarters were going.
and just a quarter. You don't need any more than that. I would say a penny, but they're gone.
Well, they're going to be worth a lot more coming soon.
No, I have a whole jar of pennies I'm so proud of.
More than that, we've got a whole bunch of them in the other place too.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
There you
yay.
go. All right.
So,
Well,
again, thanks to everybody for listening to this.
we'll reconvene next
Did we
week.
get the Waltmeyer thing out yet?
Not yet, but I'll have it up before this one actually hits. So we're on
Because
the same
the
day.
Waltmeyer discussion was a lot better because I didn't get to talk as much. So,
No, you talked a decent amount.
thank you everybody for being with
Thanks
us.
a lot. I hope you have a good week.
Yep. And we will be
Well,
back.
thank
care
you
of each
for
other.
including me, guys.
Well, you're always welcome.
I wish I were a little more sober. I would have contributed more.
No, this is all about being drunk. As the fact that I'm not drunk right now, this is the worst one for me yet. It's
No,
like I have not
understand.
actually contributed anything worthwhile.
No, you actually did, but I understand your feeling. I understand your feeling.
Next week. Also, I think next week we're going to do an away mission, and then we're going to go back on the on-off schedule. But we'll talk.
Okay. We'll probably be at Lighthouse next week.
Please like and subscribe.
Exactly. Even though we don't ask that. At some point,
No, at the end we always do, but only at the end.
at some point, we'll probably, when we start knowing actually what we do, when we're in a position we know what we're doing, we might actually start asking for Patreon.
Oh, that, and if you want to buy a T-shirt, we'll have those up too.
Or classes.
Oh yeah, mugs. We got mugs.
Okay.
Laser
Oh, I thought
edged.
you meant eyeglasses.
Laser edged.
Laser
mugs.
etched.
Because I got a laser and I got to use it now. All right, we're done.
Thank you very much.
Have a good one. Oh.